Is it time for Britain to stop apologising for its colonial past? Yes! The answer is yes. Why are we still having this conversation? Why is there still a movement out there which is still trying to demolish British history, still trying to demonise the British Empire, still trying to paint Britain as this evil, monstrous nation, despite the fact that historians, publications, history books, facts and statistics have all been exposed in the public eye now and have made it clear that the British Empire was the most benevolent empire. It was the one empire that decided to use its wealth, power and resources to end slavery, and it was the empire that stood up to Nazi Germany. Now, despite all this, we still have those in society who are trying to get the people of the today to not only apologise for British history, but also demanding reparations in some cases. Now, Narinder Kaur was on GB News the other day with Rafe Haidel-Mankoo, and one is a social commentator and the other one is an actual historian.
The whole cyclical famines of India ended because of British storage techniques and malnutrition projects.
You're actually lying about your facts.
Well, I'd love to have a longer discussion where I can expose the nonsense that you're spouting here. Also, the British advanced women's rights in India. The history of women in India was one of oppression. The British banned sutti, the burning of widows on the funeral pyres. The British stopped the infanticide of girls, and the British allowed Hindu women to remarry.
You killed in 1919. You shot
You wouldn't be here enjoying the lifestyle you are were it not for the Britain's great advances for women. I'm terribly sorry.
Rafe, what you're saying is because Britain, the great British Empire, we went there and we advanced social justices and all that. Therefore, I'm lucky. I'm not lucky if my ancestors were murdered at the hands
Your
of
ancestors are also my ancestors. We're both Sikhs,
murdered,
all right? So don't speak as if you have complete domain over this. All right?
I'm not lucky.
You are
Indian
absolutely
people,
lucky.
Aboriginal people are not lucky because of British colonisation. British colonisation was genocide.
I'm saying as a woman, as an Indian woman, you are lucky because of colonisation, because your life would not be as...
I'm in a country where I face racism. I could have been back home, and actually India could have been richer. Thankfully, we are richer now. Thankfully,
India is one of the world's 5 most racist countries. I'm terribly sorry to break it to you.
That's got nothing to do with colonisation.
Okay.
Nothing to do with colonisation.
Now, I cannot understand why you would go on national TV and you would talk about this particular subject while clearly not really knowing what you're talking about. Now, I don't know where the information she's got has come from. I've seen that type of thing in The Guardian, for example, or The Huffington Post. Inflammatory articles which do like to twist history for their own agenda, whereas Rafe is coming from a place of actual historical knowledge and obviously studying the history of this country and the history of the empire. Now, I'm no historian myself, but I have a very strong interest in British history, which of course led me to reading about it. Now, I don't mean in terms of media articles from left-wing publications, which have their own agenda, but actual history books dating back decades ago. Not just modern ones, but ones that were published a very long time ago. So you can kind of get an idea of the way things were back then. And it is simply a fact that Britain was the most benevolent empire. It was the one and only empire that decided to use its wealth and its resources, and even lost lives in the Royal Navy in order to do good in this world. It brought education, it brought civilization, it brought infrastructure, it brought sanitation. It ended another slave trade in the form of the Barbary slave trade. When, incidentally, this gets so little attention when this debate is going on, but we had for nearly 300 years people from Britain and across Europe who were being kidnapped and sold into slavery in North Africa by Barbary slave pirates. Now, this doesn't get any attention whatsoever. And yet we do have people who are still going on about how awful and bad the British Empire was, while failing to take context into account that the British Empire was the only one that chose that once it accumulated its wealth and its power, it was the only one who chose to do any real good with its power. And this is why prior colonies of the British Empire will usually be the most advanced in this world. So, when you cannot take things into context, when you insist on demonizing a country's history and you're not even throwing out any facts, you're just going purely based on your emotions and your opinion, and you're trying to thrust this opinion in people's faces, I'm sorry, but you're really not going to get very far. Now, is it time for Britain to stop apologising for its past? In my personal opinion, Britain has absolutely nothing to apologise for and never should have in the first place. This was the only empire, the only country that did an awful lot of good with its wealth. It made that conscious decision to do that because of its values. And this is why people should be thanking the British Empire and stop with all this nonsense about we have to keep apologising, because we really don't.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.